On this episode of After the Buzzer, we're going to be talking about the Nuggets and Lakers series picking up heat. We're going to be talking about the Heat and Celtics series also picking up some heat. And we're going to be doing a little bit of draft lottery reactions. Let's get to that intro music. Back to the podcast. I am your co-host, Keone McKeague, and with me as always are my longtime friends and co-hosts, Nolan Chang, Jared Shirai. Say what's up to the pod, boys.
Hello,
what it do?
Bonjour.
So we are here post NBA lottery, so I'm going to get you guys' thoughts on that real quick. Obviously, we see that Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs end up with the number one overall pick, which presumably will be Victor Wenbayama. We got the Charlotte Hornets landing at number 2 and the Portland Trail Blazers landing at number 3. I believe Houston's at 4. And then after that, I think it's Detroit who fell all the way out of number 1 to number 5, which really sucks for them. But yeah, I'm going to throw it over to you first, Jared. Of course, as you were sipping your soda.
No, you're good.
I literally picked the perfect time. But yeah, as we're talking about the San Antonio Spurs landing Victor Wenbayama, how do you like the fit, and do you think that this was kind of a best case scenario for him as far as the lottery teams are concerned?
I mean, best case scenario, hell yeah. But I mean, it's honestly because of Pop. You know, you get to play for one of the best in the game that's done it for many years. I think we said it in our group chat about how, you know, the European connection that Pop has.
Yep.
And how he brings out the best in them. Definitely going to only help but elevate Victor's game. Should he go there? I mean, I don't know if there's going to be any trades or if anybody's trying to open anything out. But, I mean, it'd be kind of foolish to pass up on it, especially with the season that the Spurs just had. You know, they had some decent pieces there, and I think he only adds to get them back to being a title contending team. Granted, I'm going to say maybe the first few months in the league, he'll have to realize what NBA basketball is, like the physicality and things like that. I mean, we watched the videos of him getting bullied by a guy that looks like Jokic in the European League, and now it's like you're gonna come here and you're gonna play against guys like that who are looking. I think it was perfectly put with how Pat Bev went right at Lonzo. Or was it Lonzo right as he came into the league, said, welcome to the league? And I feel like somebody's going to do the same thing and just body him, take the early tech in the season, but, you know, just establish dominance and say, hey, welcome to the big leagues kind of thing. But as far as it goes for the Spurs, I think their owner had the best reaction that any fan or any person could have, where he was so pumped about it. And I think it's a good fit. I really think it's a good fit for him.
Yeah. I was like, it's funny because, I mean, they got Tim Duncan. They got, I almost said Duncan Robinson.
Duncan, yeah, that guy. They're gonna get trade for that guy.
They got David Robinson. They got him now.
There's been a lot of Robinsons.
It's a solid history of It's a solid history of really good big men for San Antonio, and especially for Greg Popovich. Nolan, I'm throwing it over to you now because we have an interesting kind of scenario with the number 2 overall pick. They obviously have LaMelo Ball. The presumable number 2 overall pick is Scoot Henderson. We've been on podcasts talking about that kid being, you know, a potential star as well. But obviously there's a little bit of a pause for concern because of the fact that you already have LaMelo Ball at the guard spot. It's like, do you put a guy who's actually kind of a smaller but explosive kind of guard in Scoot Henderson next to LaMelo, or do you go for the presumable number 3 overall pick, which is Brandon Miller, considered to be kind of a PG light type of player?
To be honest, I feel like, well, one, regarding Miller, I know that there's been like talks and rumors and analysts who say he's not ready to go. He's been kind of lazy getting prepped for the draft.
He had a very bad tournament for Alabama, so he did not do very well in there.
And they were saying like during the combine stuff, he wasn't in shape and wasn't like really putting his
Mm-hmm.
best foot forward. And I don't think Charlotte has that really opportunity to risk it on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you in today's NBA game, you can definitely have Scoot kind of play the one, LaMelo play the two, even if
Mm-hmm.
LaMelo's playing the ball handling position most of the time, because LaMelo Ball is what, like 6'7" right now, so
Mm-hmm.
he still has the length to play that wing for them. Um, and especially in this draft class where I would say outside the top two, I don't think there are a lot of franchise changing players.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's quality players in comparison to like past drafts, but
Mm-hmm.
I think outside of Scoot and Wembanyama, I don't really see any two players really being a change to the
Yeah.
landscape for a team's future.
Mm-hmm.
And with Scoot, you have depth, and if Lamelo continues to be Mr. Glass as well, you're going to have at least someone to back him up. You can finally trade away Terry Rozier and or DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr., in order
Mm-hmm.
to get maybe a better wing, because Hayward's definitely not the same guy he used to be. You may need
Mm-hmm.
another stretch forward outside of like PJ Washington, because you lost Miles Bridges, or even if Miles Bridges comes back, but that's a story for another day if that's
Mm-hmm.
something that actually ends up happening. But I think what they were missing was kind of that stretch forward. And they're not really going to be able to get a solid one straight out of the top lottery draft.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense to take it at the two.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a reach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for sure just go all in on Scoot, because he's already been playing technically pro ball for a whole
Mm-hmm.
year. So he
Yeah.
is in some terms ready in comparison to a lot of these other college guys coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And then try to move some assets to try to get some fillers, veteran guys for the rest
Mm-hmm.
of the positions.
Jared, going over to you because he kind of brought it up just now. Do you kind of like that they have multiple routes to get into the NBA now with kind of the G League farming system and then the overseas system and now, the NCAA, which has always been there? Is that like something that you see going further into the future?
I mean, I like it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like the MLB farming system.
Yeah,
When when you come right out of
that's a really good
high
comparison.
school and everything, you basically jump straight into either I'm going to take that draft pick that they're
Mm-hmm.
taking, or you can go to college and do your own thing. But I do like having the multiple options because players are going to need to grow their game. I mean, Nolan put it perfectly. Out of the top two, I don't know if there's anybody ready to be in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So you sign them and then say, hey, we're going to see, we may try you out, see what happens, send you down
Mm-hmm.
for 30 games, 40 games, get you actual game experience where you're not going to get in the NBA, and then give them that opportunity. I think that's a great way to do it. I mean, that's why a lot of high schools in general, right? Or even some bigger colleges have a JV program because they want you to grow and be there with
Yeah.
with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically grow your craft or perfect your craft in that way, in a way that you're not going to get it. I mean, granted, the best way to get anything sometimes is just get thrown into fire. But do
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
basically cost games and lose at that point, just to grow your players, or do you send them to someplace where they can be not judged as much,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and be like, hey, this kid's ready now, like after like maybe even 5 games he's showing something that maybe he didn't show in the big time, and then he'll
Mm-hmm.
play on that 2-way contract and get a 10-day contract or something
Mhm.
to play up in the NBA, and just little things like that. So I really think it's a good step forward that these leagues are growing, because I think it's only going to help players development as we look forward into the future. I mean, every year, every decade that we've watched basketball or any sport, you've seen them grow in different ways, and I think this is a
Mm-hmm.
good step forward for the game to grow.
And I would say even like I'm not saying this that kids out there follow your dreams and don't go to school, but some guys are just not meant to go to a school like a
Yeah.
university, a
No, that's
college,
a good point.
something. Yeah, some guys just it's just not for them. Like if their
You're supposed to go to class? No.
their whole
Yeah.
life is their sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, Bryce Harper out of the MLB, he took the GED early, I think his sophomore year, just so he could start playing pro in the AAA. There's guys that you just know are meant to be professional players, and
Mm-hmm.
if the opportunity comes up where you can go to this new kind of revamped G League where they prep you to be a professional player as opposed to just going to Europe or overseas somewhere, this is like the best opportunity. It's like going to a trade school, knowing exactly what your career is going to be. All right, I'm going to go to this in order to propel in that, rather
Mm-hmm.
than spend 8 hours in class and then have 4 hours of weight training and practice at a school. Like, you're wearing yourself thin when your whole focus for being in that university, as we know, is just to play the sport that you love. Like,
exactly.
You're not fooling anyone, buddy.
It's funny because I always think of was it Open Court, the one with like all of the legends kind of talking?
Yeah.
Like,
so
yeah, it was like, I remember they had like a segment where they talked about best players who never made it into the NBA, and it always stood out to me that they have all these guys that they list, like obviously nobody knows of now, but that probably could have played if they had some kind of system like this where they could have just went straight into basketball as opposed to having to have the grades go into school. So yeah, it'll be super interesting to see how many players come out now because they have so many different avenues.
Yeah.
With that said, we're going to move to another topic on the draft just before we move into the analytical stuff. The last final thing I kind of had, we have two teams now. Two teams that let me rephrase that. One of those teams we thought for sure had a shot to make it into the playoffs. The other one, we all kind of thought might trail off near the end there. But they're looking to possibly move their top 10 picks in order to sort of upgrade with veteran talent in the Portland Trailblazers and the Dallas Mavericks. Nolan, I'm going to throw the Portland Trailblazers over to you, who have the number 3 overall pick. They've been heavily rumored to be wanting to move this number 3 overall pick. Dame Lillard has been pretty vocal on Twitter and all over the place, basically stating that he does want veteran help and he doesn't want to have to bring along a new guy and all this kind of stuff. What do you think that they should do with the pick? Do you think it's, would you continue to build around Dame if you're their front office, or do you think that this is one of those maybe just kind of see who lands there and draft them kind of situations? Like, what is your thought process for their team specifically?
See, the issue with that one is because they have the number 3, unless there's some crazy outlandish reason why Wenbayama doesn't go number 1 or number 2, you have to trade number 3. Scoot, if he drops to 3, you have Dame Lillard and Anthony Simons, who have been phenomenal as your backcourt, especially since you let go of or traded McCollum away. So for you to sit there with the number 3, like, yeah, we should just draft one of the high picks. We know we've been very, very vocal about Dame needs help or trade him. And I think this should be the straw that breaks the camel's back. If they do decide to draft at number 3, Dame is going to ask for a trade because he, like you said, he's been vocal. I'm not looking to help get some guy ready to be a star in this league. I need help now. He's 31, 32. He doesn't have a lot more time left in his prime, and you got to milk everything you have.
Yes,
Thankfully,
he does. It's like, I just turned 32. He has so much prime left.
You're old.
Okay, Jared, calm down.
Hey, Jared's still balling up, man. He's
40.
Yeah, almost there, not yet.
Almost.
Yeah,
July.
almost.
July,
Almost
right,
uncle
July.
status already.
Wow.
Yeah.
You went there.
Better
My
to be
boy.
over to the hill than under it, right?
I don't know.
Okay, anyway, we're getting off topic. But yeah, I definitely think they're going to package something to go. If you are able to retain Simons, Dame, and Grant, and get some other maybe great small forward, a big man, trade away Nurkic, the number 3. Maybe was it Nasir Little? I think they have on their team. All these random
Keon
guys.
Johnson
they have
for
they have,
DeMar DeRozan and Alex
Reddish.
Caruso. Yeah,
They have Thibault as well, don't they?
yeah, for
Yeah,
DeMar
they do.
DeRozan and Alex Caruso. Yeah.
For DeMar DeRozan. No, but hey, they have a good amount of assets to make a move, especially because the assets they currently have. I would have said if they still had Josh Hart, that's a guy you need to keep, but they traded him away already. So if you can trade all those guys away as well as the number 3, you're doing yourself and Dame a favor, and you are probably going to revitalize his excitement to kind of get back on the floor for this next season.
It's funny because I wanted to add something, just a little tidbit for all of those people out there who are wondering about this trade scenario that possibly might play out.
No one is wondering.
This is
just
it.
you.
Here's the interesting thing about this Portland pick that needs to be traded. Little do most fans know.
Later.
Little do most fans know that this pick or that the Portland Trailblazers actually owe a pick to the Chicago Bulls between now and 2028. So until they relay us a pick, they'll be hamstrung on making any trades with any of their future picks because they have to give us one. And because of that Steph Curry rule, where you can't trade multiple picks, or 2 years in a row, consecutive picks 2 years in a row, they're basically hamstrung to make any sort of trade that includes a pick unless they relay their pick to us. So it's a very interesting thing. That's one little advantage that the Bulls have in some sort of trade scenario. So I'm just putting that one out there. There is a possibility that a package gets worked out, and I'm going to be so curious to see what happens with that entire trade scenario. We'll probably end up with Yusuf Nurkic and Nazir Little, but I don't really care if we get that number 3. Just saying. Anyway, sliding it over to you, Jared. We have the other team on there, and I know it's one team that we've all been vocal about constantly with Luka Doncic needing help. They're apparently very willing to trade away the number 10 overall pick in order to find Luka some help. I'm curious, one, do you think that there is a trade market for number 10 as far as getting them like an actual serviceable veteran piece that can actually help Luka, considering, like we've mentioned here before, that this isn't necessarily a very deep draft. It's a very top-heavy draft. Do you think that there's a team out there that has a player that, could slot in for that value? What are your thoughts? And if there is a team, what team do you think could slide in for that number 10 overall?
Yeah, let's get LeBron there with
besides
Luka and Kyrie.
Besides DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, let's get that guy.
Besides DeMar DeRozan.
Man, I think one of the places that could go, but they have like a bajillion draft picks anyway. It could be Brooklyn. Looking at Brooklyn, they have all the pieces that you could give a player and another pick future-wise for it. I think there could. I really think there's a market anywhere that you want to look, in my opinion. Like, I don't think there's any team that's not going to kind of be willing to trade. And with the way that the Mavs have been, where they're not looking at finding star players, obviously, because we're not getting Luka any help besides Kyrie, which was questionable. It's one of those, like, maybe we just look for a few role players, like bringing in like another Seth Curry or something.
It's funny because
a
actually
player like that would be a great.
I was just thinking, like, Seth Curry and Nick Claxton wouldn't be too bad to get. I mean,
exactly.
Get a defensive-minded big.
I don't know if they'll give up Claxton. Maybe what they give up like Cam Johnson or something, because Johnson didn't really do anything when he went there.
They got Christian Wood there, so it'd be kind of weird you put Cam Johnson, Christian Wood, who both.
But it'd be a good rotation if Wood's not producing, and Cam Johnson, we know what Cam Johnson can do. So I mean, it'd be kind of a good. I think it might be a good fit.
I'd be curious.
I think Seth.
Neither of those guys is
really
one. Like proven. So it'd be like one of those things. It's like, is Luka going to be on board with you guys trading the number 10?
What
just to
if
get a guy who's like possibly?
What are you getting in number 10 though?
I have an idea.
That's what I'm saying. I was like,
what if, because we already know, I guess, really what they need. And it's going to be, teams are going to be hard-pressed to give the Mavs someone that is of substantial weight in regards to providing and producing for the team, especially if Luka and Kyrie are retained for the season next season.
Mm-hmm.
What if you trade away Julius Randle to them for the 10? You get a big man who is at least a little more consistent. He shies away, but you have Christian Wood that can step in if he needed to. And then you at least kind of get a little more weaponry on the lineup as opposed to the Knicks.
It's funny because I was thinking of guys like him, John Collins, like.
I mean, if you're getting Julius Randle from that, then I would want Josh Hart as well. Like, I mean, it's a little greedy, but I would want Josh Hart as well.
I was like, number 10 for that. Both of those guys.
I agree. Yeah. I think Josh Hart would be a great fit on that team because he's that.
I think Josh Hart is a great fit on that team.
Yeah. I don't think Tibbs, especially with Tibbs running the front of the no way they trade away.
That's why it's so hard.
But
I mean, like,
defensive-minded guys too much.
Yeah.
But you said John Collins. I mean, that'd be a nice fit.
Nice lob threat for Luka. I think that'd be something. He's a little bit better of a defender than Christian Wood, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say the only
I mean, he's more of a paint presence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's why I'm because I feel like people kind of get on this train of like, oh, just trade, but then I'm like, you have to think about like, what do they want?
What
What do
if
they need? I
what
mean, and
if
how they're going to
the
fit in?
Clippers are finally done with Kawhi and trade the 10 away for Kawhi, as well as
See,
pieces?
I feel
Huh?
like that. Yeah, I was like, it would have to be much more because I feel like the Clippers still gonna sell high on him. Like they don't want
Yeah,
to.
no,
If
yeah,
they do
definitely.
get rid of him, they're definitely gonna sell high no matter what.
Because you could have a what? It would be Kyrie, Luca, um, is it Royce O'Neal that they traded? No, who did they get? They got
No, they just got Kyrie and
from the Nets. They got Remember we said it was like a weird swap because Dorian Finney-Smith went for Royce O'Neal, didn't he?
no, Royce O'Neal's still on the
Oh, is
Nets.
he?
Yeah, it was.
Who was it that they got? There was someone that we said was like, why
It
did
was
you
like
just
a
swap two of the same players?
yeah, it was like crappy. It was a crappy wash. I want to say it was like one of the Morris twins,
No,
maybe.
no, it wasn't the Morris. It was, but either way, you could have.
They do have one of
Kawhi
the
and
they
them.
do have one of the Morris twins on the team, but I can't remember if he was a Brooklyn Net before they got him. But
He
yeah,
might have been. Was it the one on the? It was Heat. He was on the Heat.
No, they have Marcus. Or the Clippers?
No, they have Keith.
I
Oh,
don't know.
Marcus is on.
I was like, I
Clippers,
don't
and
remember.
Keith
Like
is on. I
the
think
Morris twins have been on like every team
Yeah.
at this point, so it's like
because it's
I
the
can't even
shittier
remember what they were
Morris.
last.
You know
Wow.
the shitty Lopez and then this shitty Morris.
You have good Lopez and shitty Lopez.
Yeah, just like how we had the shitty Grant for a long time with like Jerry and Grant, the guy we thought was going to be our point guard savior. Anyway, we're not talking about that.
Anyway,
I was like, let's talk about the. So I mean, yeah, I mean that's the only thing. I think the market is really weird as far as like
Yeah.
if they want to get somebody who's like a win now piece. Like I'm just so curious. Like, do you trade away your win now piece for a number 10? It's like, I mean, the only like team that I think is even desperate enough, and I know I keep saying this, but I think it's our team. Like, if there was a team that could trade away like Nikola Vucevic for a number 10, that would be like a team that I think actually would trade because I just can't imagine. I mean, unless like Kyle Kuzma really enthralls them, or like I'm trying to think of like borderline, not really competitive, but kind of competitive teams. Like, that's like the teams I
Kyle
think
Kuzma
of.
would be a good fit, actually. Yeah, I think we've talked
Yeah.
about him being a decent fit for what they need.
I know. I can't believe I actually am considering us getting that dude. but I was just like, it's funny because I just keep thinking. I was like, I know. I was like, you put Williams at the 3, you put Kuzma at the 4. You finally got a stretch guy at the 4. I don't know. It's just now we're getting desperate in my mind.
Now we're getting desperate.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I think that's. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks, especially leading up to the draft, and then the draft day should be very interesting. So I'm so curious to see.
Also, is this just me, or does it feel like this year there's a lot more talk about like the top 10 picks being moved before?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. That's
okay.
well, that's
Say,
that.
It's not just
See,
me, right? Like,
it's funny because I feel like that's one thing that's going to be super interesting about this year specifically is that there are so many teams that. And it happens every single year, but this year specifically, I think there are so many teams that think they are just one piece away and they have to make these desperation trades. Like, I mean, I think the Mavs, the Trailblazers, us, the Knicks, the Cavaliers, like there's so many teams that are going to be like, oh, maybe if we just find that one other guy that slots in right here, like that's why I think I personally think there's going to be a lot of movement. There was just a rumor recently that says like the duo of Giannis and Chris Middleton like talked about like staying there for life or whatever. But Chris Middleton's an unrestricted free agent, so I mean he's another one that's like
a report just popped up that said that the plan is that Middleton and Lopez are both going to stay this next season. So
it's
I
funny
think it
because
was like minutes before we hopped on. I
like,
think
Giannis should go to the Warriors. No, just kidding.
Giannis
Anyway.
should go to the Bulls for DeMar DeRozan.
I mean, I'm just saying, veteran presence. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna move on to the actual game analytics. I think that was a good breakdown for the draft. Yeah, I guess we'll start with the less depressing one, I guess, for you guys. We're gonna start off with Nikola Jokic, the actual MVP of the NBA organization.
If you don't believe so,
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I just said Nikola Jokic. My bad. Not
Oh,
that we're not talking about him. We're talking about
We're
Jimmy
talking about him
Butler.
next, though.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
you're not wrong about that,
Yeah,
man.
that was a factual statement. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Jimmy Butler and the Boston Celtics. I mean, it's funny because I didn't just say Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. I said Jimmy Butler and the Boston Celtics going head to head in this contest. So I'm throwing it over to you first, Jared, just because I know Nolan's really gonna want to talk about the Lakers and Nuggets. But yeah, throwing it over to
Yeah.
you, Jared. Obviously, we have Him-my Butler. Being that guy. They had a miraculous comeback in game two. So just I don't even know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. It'll be so curious. I'm just so curious. Now the Celtics are down, 2 games to nil, and that was their hometown advantage. So they had that advantage. Couldn't take care of business there. What are your thoughts on kind of the series thus far? What have you seen that Celtics aren't doing or are doing or whatever that's going on between them?
Well, let's start with what they are doing. They're definitely poking the freaking bear. We saw it
poking the
with
dog.
Dylan Brooks doing
Yep.
it to LeBron,
Mm-hmm.
and now we watch Williams do it to Butler. And literally, he said it in the interview. You just woke up the dog, and he came
Mm-hmm.
out. I mean, he's having an okay game. They were losing, and like I think we were off to volleyball or something. And
Mm-hmm.
Emily was like, I was asking, she's like, oh yeah, the Celtics are playing, they're winning. I was like, oh cool. I was like, yeah, what does Jimmy have? He had like 17 or 18
Mm-hmm.
points. And it's already like the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden, just awaken. Like he woke up and. We went to go get pizza press last night. And I walk in and a huge TV, and I'm like, dude, they're winning. What the hell happened? And I go back and I'm watching all the highlights and everything. I was like, man, that's just one person that you let him do. And if he's not being a presence, then you don't wake him up. You just let him
Yep.
do him and just let him be on his side of the ball. We talked about it
Exactly.
with a lot of different teams, you know? It's kind of like a Steph thing. If Steph's missing, you don't egg him on to take more threes because once he
Yeah.
hits one, you know that thing's just going to fly for days.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the biggest thing for me with the Heat is not just Jimmy Butler. It's he's getting help. You know, Bam had a good game yesterday. Martin's been alive. Strus is here and there, but he does it on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing
Shout
for
out to
me.
Kyle
And
Lowry as well, man. I was like, for a guy who's kind of on the downswing, like for him to just continually, I feel like they put him in a lot of like those pick and roll situations with Jimmy, where he's the guy that's defending the switch, and I was like, he just
Mhm.
like I always think that he's kind of slower, but then he proves me wrong because he's
Did you guys see that one highlight of Duncan Robinson? I don't remember if it was game one or game two, but he jumps to take a three. A guy flies by to block, and he sees it, so he throws it off Bam's back, who's like 4 feet in front of him. The guy flies by, bounces off the back. He takes the step back, and then hits the three. I was
Ooh,
like,
I missed
"Damn!"
that one. Yeah, that's a nice one.
Damn.
100
But
Yeah.
IQ play right there.
yeah, those guys are really pushing it, and I am very impressed, and I think they're all deserving of the 2 wins that they have.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I 100% agree with that. And on the other side of the ball, I think Jason Tatum's actually having a great series, and he's not getting any
Mm-hmm.
help. You know, I mean, and he had a good look
Him and
last
Brown
night. He had a good look at
didn't
that
make a field goal or
last
didn't
shot.
take a field goal in the fourth or something like that.
Who?
I think they said him and Brown in the fourth quarter didn't make one field goal each.
One field
Didn't
goal
make,
each.
yeah, there was over for the whole fourth quarter. And I was like, wow, like your 1 and 2 are not able to score. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's the one thing to like, sure, if you don't want to have hit either of them defending Jimmy Butler so you can save their legs for the other side of the court, well
Mm-hmm.
then make sure they're doing something on the other side of the court. Like
Yeah.
True.
I don't get that.
No,
It's funny
you're
because
definitely
I'm
right.
so curious about Jaylen Brown because I feel like people hype him up to be like this just extraordinary player, but I mean I haven't really like he's had moments and then he doesn't have moments and then he
Do you
disappears a
think
lot.
it's because he's checked because they keep talking about like shipping him out after this year?
I mean, to
Like
be
that could be
fair,
it could be
it's
a
to be
reason, you
fair, it's a
know?
lot of his own what he's saying himself. Like he has a
Yeah.
lot of quotes out there where he's basically like how he talks about how he's not
Fishing
really a
out
big
there
fan
and
of.
things.
He's not a big fan of the Boston fan base, and he's definitely about getting his money this next coming season. He's also talked about wanting to be a number one. So it's a lot of stuff, and I don't think it's just the teams saying it, but yeah, that's why I said it's so interesting to me. Like, I wonder if this is a scenario type of deal, or if this is really just like who he is. Like, I'm so curious to see what happens when he's finally a free agent next year. So, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm curious to see, because it seems like they should be like a match made in heaven, right? Like two 3-and-D wing dudes who, like, you know what I mean, like, can do it on both sides of the court and all that kind of stuff. Like, it should be really good together, but somehow they just like get there and then don't get there, and then I don't know. They have like the alpha struggle a lot, so I don't know.
They do have the alpha struggle a lot.
Yeah, it's weird because they should, like, on paper, that Celtics team should be one of the best teams
They
in the
were the
league.
favorites, started the conference finals.
They should still
For
be,
both,
but
for the
it's
championship.
just it's so weird.
I mean, coming into this, we were talking like Boston was the team that, like, I was taking Boston, you know, when we were looking at everything. Granted, in the beginning of the season, I took the Sixers, but it's whatever. I mean,
you keep
and then
bringing
Boston.
that one up. I was gonna let you just ride the Boston.
No,
train.
it's
You're the one
okay.
who keeps bringing up the
I'm
76ers
okay.
take.
I'm okay with it, because at one point the Sixers kind of showed life of like, oh, maybe I still have to second guess myself, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that could be a lot of it too. The struggles between him and Tatum, because
Do you think that short rotation is kind of part of the issue? Like,
every team does the short rotation, though.
yeah, but I mean, like, because they perform so high on both sides of the court, like, they're very active defensively. Like, I always think, like, maybe, I mean, because obviously the other teams, like look at the Nuggets, like, they don't really, they call it in on defense a lot of times, you know what I mean? Like, they're not always super active. I mean, half the time, like, now of course they're trying very hard against LeBron and AD, but like most of the time you see like they're kind of like really active movement wise on offense, and then defense they kind of just like they're there, and if the other team scores, you know what I mean? It's like, but like, seems like the Celtics kind of just like fly and switch, and you know what I mean? Like, they're like up in your face on every single shot, so it's like it's like a different type of effort, which is why
I think it has to do with the short rotations, not just the short breaks. It's the 8-man rotation that they have, which is kind of crazy. Like, you only use 8, and you're expecting everybody to play such a high level defense. Nope, they haven't played Blake. They barely played Pritchard, I think, in the first game, and they didn't even play the second game. And like, it's just kind of crazy with the names and the people that they have. Like, we talked about how they were probably a pretty deep team going into the playoffs, and they had the weapons, and they had the rest minutes that they were able to give, and they haven't used it once yet. So I don't know if it's on the coaching side or
and
if
I
it's
like
just
Pritchard.
yeah.
He's a hard worker.
Dude, he just does his job and does it hard, and he works. You know, I mean, he works for you, and as the players you wanted, as your secondary players that come off the bench.
Like, you would think that, I mean, for all intents and purposes, just on paper, you would think this is the series that they would be using Pritchard in comparison to like the guards surrounding Jimmy.
Yeah,
Vincent, Struss, those guys. Like, obviously, these are guys that Pritchard can cover.
Yeah,
and can at least get open on.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they're just kind of holding all their eggs in one basket.
Well, I got a question for you, Jared. So if they do not make it out of this series, do you think that they're going to look to make kind of a major change, minor change? Do you think that this, because like I look at, like, for instance, the Jaylen Brown situation, right? And then you look at a team like Portland, who does have the number 3 overall pick. They have a guy like Anthony Simons. They got some contracts that could possibly be moved over there.
What if they move the 10 to the Celtics?
It's funny because there's so many teams like that I look at and I'm like, I mean, we have a good package now, but if like a team like that decides to blow it up, they have a much better package than we do. Like right now, we look pretty good because, like, you know, I mean, like, everybody's getting desperate and they're like, DeMar DeRozan, I mean, 20 points a game. Nikola Vucevic, 20 and 10. But then as soon as those teams decide they want to, then our team's like, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm like looking at this and I'm thinking, like, if a team like that decide, do you think that they decide to blow it up if they do lose this series? Like, they don't even make it to the finals this year?
I mean, in all honesty, I want to say yes, because they've been there. It's been up and down, and it's like I honestly think one's got to go. One's got to go. I mean, we talked about Jayson Tatum not showing up in the finals that 1 year, but I mean, like, in my opinion, I'd rather ride and die with that guy. if I'm picking somebody that I want to back a franchise behind and build around, I want to build around Jayson Tatum. I've liked him from his Duke days.
Yeah.
I like the way he conducts himself, his
Oh,
work
he's a
ethic,
dookie.
and
That's why. No, just joking.
but I mean,
Call
it's
him
just
a
like
Dookie.
it's just.
No,
I
just
mean,
kidding.
I mean, it's just
Jared
even
was the
like
one who called them
with the
dookies before.
yeah,
I was noticing
yeah.
that.
But
He's
I
like,
mean,
he's
even
a
like the
dookie. I'm
whole
like, now we
stupid.
know they're all dookies. like,
Like he's worked with Kobe, you know, so he has that
yeah.
insight in that
Mhm.
type of world, and I'm not saying that
Yeah, he's
it means the
basically
world.
Kobe Bryant right
Yeah,
now.
he's better than Kobe, man. No. Clip it.
Trigger all the Laker fans, yeah.
Yeah, clip it for the Laker fans. No, just kidding.
No,
But yeah,
that's
I
Devin
mean,
Booker. Devin Booker's the new Kobe Bryant.
oh, he's a new Kobe. Yeah, I mean, whew. Is he the second greatest shooting guard of
Lord,
all
don't
time?
test me today.
Second greatest shooting guard of all time.
Third greatest
Devin
after Dwayne Wade.
Booker.
Just joking.
Namaste. Woosah.
Oh, fourth greatest. I forgot about Ray Allen.
Oh, jeez.
Just like keep it going. Anyway,
No, but yeah, I honestly like no. I totally agree. It's like I think it's time to blow it up. Maybe not blow it up, but like just part ways with him, and maybe find another running mate for Tatum to
Yeah, try something new.
go through. Yeah, I mean it's been broken, and I don't know if they've really tried to fix it. And so, I mean, like you got to find him a new piece. Right now, it's literally the definition of insanity with what they're doing and how it
Yeah.
works. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
I'd be so curious, man, because I like look and I'm thinking like number 3, you get Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkic. Like, is that a better situation? No, but I mean,
I would say if you can put Grant in that instead,
That's
because
true.
if you can retain Simons, I think that's
Yeah.
the best option for you to have those 3 guard wings.
yeah.
And then Nurkic, you know, he's not great, but he can score sometimes. You know,
yeah. I was like,
in today's
I like how you
game,
say sometimes.
he's not needed, but at the same time, yeah,
No.
you can live with him on
It's
the
just
roster.
his contract, man. He makes so much money for just a crappy center.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, I think that'll do it for that conversation. Be curious to see what happens with them. We're going to move
Mhm.
over to the more, I guess, depressing one for Nolan here. The Lakers are now down 2-0, but they're going to LA. They always have the advantage there. They seem to always kind of pick it up. Obviously, LeBron James is LeBron James, so we're going to see him probably pick it up in these next 2 games specifically. What are your kind of thoughts on what has been happening with the Lakers in the series thus far, and kind of like what do you think they need to do in order to pick it up for the next few games?
For game 1, I was able to actually watch the whole game. Game 2, once again, I was coaching, so seems like every time I coach, the Lakers lose. So maybe I should just quit. You know, I don't know yet, but
Well, you watched and they lost, so it's like, what's the
but
difference?
I'm just saying, when I watch, they win too. So I'm just saying, anytime I'm checking the score while coaching the girls team, I'm like, you motherfuckers, it's all you.
Just leave your phone at home.
Oh, you're right.
Leave your phone at home.
This past game, Ivy had her game streaming on the tablet. So like in between water breaks, I'd like go over and watch it.
Tell her we can't watch this. It is bad luck, and the
bad
Lakers
luck,
need to win, bro.
No, but what I'll say is the game 1, the biggest thing for them, pretty much all the statistics were the same. You know, amount of free throws, amount of assists, amount of scoring percentage, free throw percentage, 3-point percentage, all that was like nearly identical. Only difference was Denver out rebounded us 17. And I was watching the whole first quarter. Jokic has 10 rebounds in the first quarter, and all of them, not all of them, most of them were offensive rebounds.
Yeah, that
And you
first
can't
quarter
give a
did
team
not
like
look
that.
good.
Yeah, you can't give a team like that second chances, because they do have moments where they are streaky and they will miss the shot. But if you're going to have Jokic and people cram in to get the rebound, put a body on him. Because if he, as a 7-foot, maybe 12-inch vertical, can get the ball over Anthony Davis and LeBron James and all those guys in there and dish it out to Michael Porter Jr. or Aaron Gordon, who's on the wing, that's your own damn fault. And I
Mhm.
can't, I'm going to give all the credit where it's due to Denver and Jokic because they were able to do that and keep the ball alive, second chance opportunities. The other biggest thing that I noticed was, and I'm not even going to go into the whole Rui thing. Rui did great, especially when he was guarding Jokic.
Mhm.
He did good in containing what he can against an MVP, the should be 3-time MVP.
Mhm.
But I think the biggest thing is they treated this a lot differently than the Golden State Warriors, which makes sense because it is a different style of play than the Warriors. But they kept cutting under the screens defensively to cover Murray. And Murray was lighting them up every single time. I didn't get to see game 2 if they made an adjustment to fight over the screen and get to him and put just a little more pressure on him as he got the ball. But every time they fought under the screen, he'd take the shot if he was wide open, or take one pump, dribble off, do a quick step in, and then take the shot again.
I mean, I think
You
at one
have to
point
be
he
able-
had 17, and it was like
Yeah.
he was
He
literally
hit
6 of
23
6.
in the fourth quarter, I think, last game.
Well, the
something
second,
like that.
the game 2, he was cold, and then he
Yeah,
went
then the fourth
off.
quarter he went
And that's the
crazy.
only reason why the Nuggets
Yeah.
won. I mean, there's other reasons why they won,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, like when he's off, like that
Oh, maybe
just
that
messes
was
with
game
their
2 I was
whole
thinking about.
offense.
Yeah.
Because I was looking, I was like, okay, the Lakers are winning, cool. They're up 8 or 10 or
Mhm.
whatever, and I was like
Mhm.
looking at the stat lines, and because I wasn't able to watch the game, and I was like, oh, Jamal Murray's struggling. And then I went to go do something, and I come back, and I'm like, dude, they're down 8 now. Like it just flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
it
was like,
was.
and then
was
I
game
looked
2,
at
yeah.
Jamal Murray's stat line, and I was like, holy hell, something woke up there, and
And
he's
it was
on
bad.
fire.
And we were
He went
leading
6 of
for
6
a
on
good
the-
portion of the game
Yeah.
too, and it just got away from us in the third. No, it got away from us in the fourth, I believe.
In the fourth. You guys were up. That's why I said it.
Yeah.
That's what made it crazier, because I was like,
Yeah.
for him to go 6 of 6 and just absolutely bring them back in, that was
And
insane.
I think that was more, and I think Darvin Ham did a job of creating a better starting 5 because it jumped
Yes.
out early. We got that start.
Mhm.
Putting Vando in there, kind of have that stretch so that he
Mhm.
can cover a little bit more, and then you kind of still bring Rui off the bench to give you that punch as the second unit.
Mhm.
But it just got away from us, and I think they were too focused on covering Jokic and making sure that he wasn't going to get anything going for himself, that we still kind of neglected what Murray could do. At to the point where first 3 quarters Murray's not doing well. Okay, maybe I can sag off a little bit more.
Yeah,
He's going to be
yeah.
a little more
Mhm.
timid to take that open shot. Well, he is Jamal Murray, and we've said before he is doing fantastic in these playoffs. So at any given time, you can't just let him be open like that. And
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Both of these games literally could have gone either way. Lakers
Mhm.
fought back from a 20-point deficit in the first game to make it
Mhm.
pretty much within 3. Second game, we were obviously leading, so it's got to be a win now thing. These 2 home games, we have to win them just to clean the slate. All right, cool. Now first 2 more games.
Do you
Best of 3
think?
right now.
Do you think? And I think this is where like you kind of led into it a little bit, like without saying it. Do you think it has a sense of urgency kind of thing? Like Denver plays with a sense of urgency, and they look like every possession matters to them. Like Keone said, on the defense side of the ball, it's a little lackadaisical in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like when they're on offense and they're going after it, like, and I think the Lakers kind of did that in game 1, where it's like, oh shit, we're getting blown out. Now we have the sense of urgency. We got to come back from 20.
Yeah.
You know.
I do think it's a sense of urgency because when you look at it in the box score and the stat sheets after the game, who are the 2 guys who are actually playing the best for us in this first 2 games? It's Reeves and Rui. 2 guys that have never been here before and do have a chip on their shoulder to produce for a championship contending team. Everyone else does kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit, but I still give credit where it's due. AD and LeBron are still playing good defense and good offense. It's just it comes and goes, and we need you guys to either stagger it so one of you is going hot and then the next one goes hot and the next one goes hot. I don't need LeBron to be shooting any more threes because obviously it hasn't been working. I think he's like 1 for 13.
Yeah,
He's at home now, so we're good.
Yeah, so we'll see.
It's a Denver air. You didn't know? Is it altitude?
I don't like ever saying that. Cop out, but
they talked about that so much in the beginning. I was just
know.
like, here we go. When they lose, they're gonna be like Denver's air.
I
or
still
something.
think this series
Oh my
can
God.
go to 7, and I hate to say it because I know Game 7 will be in Denver. But I think this one will go to 7. I don't think I'm confident enough to say who's going to take it just because, but I would probably say Nuggets just because they have the advantage right now. And if Lakers don't step it up in these next 2 home games, then just have a nice offseason.
Yeah,
guys.
it's funny because you kind of mentioned the sense of urgency thing. I think for Denver's side, it's really just a chip on your shoulder type of deal.
The whole
because
team. Yeah, exactly. The whole
initially, when they went
God
into the
damn
series,
it, do I miss KCP?
yeah, no, for real, no, really.
I mean, we talked about it on the
last.
last one. That's what I was talking about. I
But not
said
just that.
KCP, bruh.
Not just that, but Bruce Brown for them has been
Brown.
fantastic.
Bruce Brown
I
has
think he's
been
another
playing
one.
fantastic,
But-
man.
But the
Great
thing I
pickup
keep
for
thinking
them.
with them is like right off the bat, everybody already was writing this off as a Lakers series win, like automatically. Then the script gets dropped, obviously, and then everybody goes crazy over that thing, saying Lakers in 6.
And I am in full agreement with Mike Malone's post-game statements. Do I think it was a little, jabby at the Lakers themselves? Sure, but I think he's absolutely right. Like, oh, you guys, game 1 we win. You guys are looking at like, oh, but this is how they can beat Jokic in game 2.
Yeah,
Jokic just had a 40-point triple-double, pretty much a double-double in the first quarter, and no one wants to talk about it. Okay, game 2, Nuggets are up. Oh, the Lakers are going to have a 2-game homestand now, and they can kind of like push back here. Like, and I don't think it's the Lakers' fault, but is the Lakers as an idea's fault.
yeah,
Because the media wants what's the hot topic. If the NBA could have their way, it'd be Celtics Lakers in the championship series, because it's going to get more viewers, it's going to get all that good stuff. But I do agree with Mike Malone. It's like, dude, this team is performing beautifully and winning.
Give the
against,
Nuggets their due, man.
yeah,
Like,
give them their
No,
they're
they're clicking on all cylinders right now, and it's beautiful basketball to watch. In all honest opinion,
really
like
is.
I'm really
But
happy
Lakers
with
in
what
7.
they're doing. Bitch, you just said Nuggets in 7.
I would think, but the fan in me is going Lakers in 7.
Pounce, you already
So-
said it. Pounce.
No, no.
Jared, what is your prediction for this one?
My prediction: I'm gonna take the Lakers in 7. I'll take
All
the
right,
Lakers in 7.
Same,
Heat Celtics,
right?
what do you got?
Heat Celtics. I'll take the Heat in 5.
Nolan?
I think Heat 6.
Right on. All right. I think that'll do it for us here on this episode of After the Buzzer. We thank you so much for joining us. Once again, boys, where can the people find you? Starting off with you, Nolan.
You guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at NolanKYT, NOLANKYT.
And Jared, where can the people find you?
Instagram and Twitch at JShirai, JSHIRAI, and Twitter JShirai808.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at KONee. That's KAYOHKNEE. You can also check us out on Instagram at The Point and Soy Podcast. As always, it has been a pleasure. It's been a joy from all of us here at Point and Soy.
Good vibes and love, everybody.
Bang, bang.
Shoots butter.